What is up, guys? Gannon here, back at it again with another One Piece video. Today I wanted to talk about something I've been pondering lately, and that's that while the entire community basically loves the Marine Admirals and definitely sees them as the Navy's true greatest military power and asset over the rampant piracy of the One Piece world, very few people I've spoken to see the original three Admirals, or even the new generation of Admirals, as anything but equal. And if you ask me, I totally agree. There's a fair bit of evidence to suggest that not all the admirals are on the same caliber, and there are definitely those who are seen as stronger than others. Don't get me wrong here, they're definitely all in the same ballpark in terms of strength and can all do crazy feats that should be expected of an admiral, like island level attacks, advanced knowledge and practice of hockey, and the ability to be able to contest with the likes of the Yonko. However, among the original three admirals, the power levels of the three have kind of been stipulated among the community, and a good majority share this opinion. Sakazuki is the strongest of them all, followed by Aokiji, and then Borsalino. I know there's going to be plenty of people who have different opinions, but this right here is kind of the general consensus. The biggest piece of evidence we have to support this theory is the fact that Aokiji and Akainu dueled on Punk Hazard for 10 days straight, fighting for their lives over the position of Fleet Admiral of the Navy. After 10 days of what we can imagine to be high level and high difficulty fighting, Akainu came out as the clear winner, with the trade-off being this large scar that resides in the right half of his body and a chunk of his ear missing. Aokiji, defeated and now short an entire leg and also heavily scarred, resigned from the Marines and is now affiliated with the Blackbeard Pirates. And while a large portion of the community also theorizes Aokiji may be a sword agent or undercover and still loyal to the Marines someday, we can only assume right now that the performances and outcome of the battle on Punk Hazard to be nothing but genuine. Two admirals going against each other in a lethal 1 versus 1, giving it everything they've got. The fact that they went on fighting for 10 days straight implies the monstrous amount of fighting power and stamina they possess, but also implies that the two are extremely close in power level, like we assume all the admirals to be. All that aside, and for all intensive purposes, Sakazuki did win the duel, confirming his canon superiority over his fellow admiral Aokiji. Okay, so we know that Kuzan and Sakazuki are extremely close in ability, but that Sakazuki is just slightly better, and that establishes a hierarchy. But then that leaves our wild card, the third admiral that always seems to stay out of trouble and is a relatively neutral third party among the rivaled other two admirals. Y'all already know who I'm talking about, the flashy light man himself, Borsalino, aka Kizaru, aka Yellow Monkey, aka the man with a plan. Just kidding, this dude doesn't really ever have a plan, and that's kind of one of the big things I wanted to talk about during this video. As a community, we see Aokiji and Akainu to be the stronger of the three, but why? And that also got me thinking a little bit about our boy Kizaru. Kizaru is the user of the fucking Pika Pika no Mi, the freaking light fruit dude. And if you ask me, he's hands down got the best fruit among all the three original admirals. Kizaru is able to apparently infinitely spam high intensity lasers and beams of light that are also incredibly lethal, explosive, and destructive. The Magu no Mi is said to have the highest offensive power among devil fruits. This is low-key bullshit, and I don't know how Oda can even say this with a straight face. Like, I think he's literally trolling. Perhaps the most offensive power among Logia fruits, but even that for me is a little dodgy. Sure, the magma is powerful and it melted a ginormous ice boulder in mere moments, but the most offensive fruit, can't say I'm fully buying it. I can think of a couple fruits that just by principle have similar offensive power to the Magu no Mi. Regardless, in my opinion, Kizaru has the best fruit among the admirals. It's a light Logia that allows him to travel at the speed of light. And let me put emphasis on the word travel. I'm in the consensus that Kizaru must fully materialize into his element to have the full properties of his element. So he can only blink at the speed of light when he's fully turned into light, and I don't actually think this dude has real combat light speed. If anything, he uses his light speed travel to augment his kicks to almost light speed, but that's really the best scenario, and that's really the only bone I'm willing to throw at him. I mean, come on guys, the Hihi no Mi and the Magu no Mi are insanely good fruits. One has the ability to literally negate any risk of death by water by freezing the seawater that the user comes in contact with. It also has the ability to freeze whole parts of the ocean and probably entire islands. The Magu no Mi is definitely the hottest devil fruit out there, with the ability to melt steel and alloys with ease, and even gives the user propulsion propulsion. But in retrospect, if you ask me, the light fruit is definitely superior to both. Like I've said before, it's been implied Kizaru can span these high-intensity, lethal laser beams as much as he wants, and since they're concentrated beams of light, their combat range must be insane. Not to mention, Kizaru can blink around at light speeds, so if you aren't really experienced in observation hockey, you have no chance of even contesting him. Kizaru is also seen floating and levitating around a lot, probably because his element is weightless, so it's got a huge mobility advantage over the other two fruits, and he's able to materialize into his element quickly as hell, as seen when he used it to avoid impact from Marco's kick at Marineford. He's also able to materialize a physical sword out of light he produces that's able to contest and compete against an actual sword used by probably one of the strongest and best hockey users in the series, Silver's Rayleigh, which in my opinion, I doubt an ice sword produced by the Hihi no Mi could replicate such a feat. I think if you pitted 3 people with the Admiral fruits against each other and you negate intangibility for the duration of the fight, the light fruit would hands down take the cake. Like, the magma produced by the Magu no Mi is powerful, intimidating, and incredibly destructive, but it's definitely slow champ compared to the light fruit. And the Hihi no Mi, in my eyes, it's just kind of inferior when you put it up against the Magu no Mi, because I think that magma is just stronger than ice, and it would be hard to freeze somebody who's a magma man. So whether you agree with me, I really do believe Kizaru to have the best fruit among probably all the Admirals. Even though we haven't seen Green Bulls yet, I doubt it can compete with the light fruit. So with that being said, Kizaru has the best fruit among the original 3 Admirals. He's got the ability to do similar feats as the other 2 Admirals, and he's been shown on screen have the ability to use advanced hockey types along with the other Admirals. So with all that being said, why isn't Kizaru the strongest Admiral? Why couldn't he be top dog if he really wanted? The shortest answer I could give you as to why Kizaru probably isn't the strongest Admiral is that the only thing keeping him from holding that position is probably himself. In my eyes, it's a combination of his personality, his personal motivations, and his representation. Kizaru practices unclear justice, meaning he doesn't share the motivations held by Aokiji's lazy justice or the extremities of Akainu's absolute justice motto. Kizaru just seems to go with the flow and diligently carries out orders given to him with little self-interest. He seems to just be happy with his personal position of power as an admiral and lives a rather carefree and takes everything kind of lightly type of way. Don't take that the wrong way though. While on the surface Kizaru seems to be a little easygoing and carefree, he has no sympathy for pirates and doesn't have any mercy or remorse for the weaklings he crushes on a daily basis. And he is very much concerned with his own performance, as when he let Luffy escape from Sabaody, he took out his frustrations by defeating and rounding up another 500 pirates. Kizaru, like I said before, is also the neutral third party. He shows no interest in quarreling with his fellow admirals or even his fellow marine, and is even the closest thing we see on screen as a friend to Sakazuki. So Kizaru would never really have much motivation to compete or even beef with other admirals like we've seen with Aokiji and Akainu. For all these reasons, we can assume that Borsalino isn't motivated to show us he's the strongest among the admirals or even to be the strongest in general, because he seems just kind of content with being a badass and powerful admiral to begin with. Now that leads me to my final point, representation. In terms of representation, the only real feat Aokiji has that puts him above Borsalino is his fight with Akainu. And yes, I do recognize that that's a pretty concrete feat. Kizaru, on the other hand, has been seen slaughtering supernovas with ease, deleting fodder pirates like they were clutter files on his overcrowded desktop, and is even seen going toe-to-toe with Silver's Rayleigh, who at some point, and perhaps still maybe is, a Yonko level character. But I think the thing that makes people kind of question Kizaru's strength in the hierarchy of the admirals is his matchup with Marco at Marineford. While Kizaru did get the last laugh with him lasering Marco after he had himself cuffed with Sea Stone, Marco was still able to compete with Kizaru and hold his own against him on multiple occasions. Seeing a first commander compete with an admiral so well may seem like a rep loss against Kizaru, right? Except for the fact that it's been highly implied and stipulated at this point that Marco is indeed an admiral Admiral level character, and that these feats aren't out of bounds for what he's capable of doing. And even so, he never really did any significant damage to Kizaru, so I don't really see this as an L or anything, but just compare that to what Akainu was able to achieve in his fight against Whitebeard. Even though Whitebeard was old and wounded, he was angry and coming at Sakazuki with the intent to kill. Sakazuki showed major feats of strength, power, and durability against his fight with Whitebeard, and we've seen nothing that even comes close to that from our boy Kizaru. So with all that being said, I think the answer to my question about why Kizaru isn't the strongest admiral is that for all intents and purposes, he has the potential to be. But like, clearly isn't. But at the same time, I really do wait for the day we get to see a fight from Kizaru where he's backed up against a corner and forced to lose his cool and fight seriously. Because in recent chapters, this dude has shown some real big dick energy with his willingness to go and break up the meeting between Kaido and Big Mom. So I really do want to see a lot more from Kizaru and what he can truly do if he's being tested. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please slap a like on it. If you are enjoying the content that you are seeing on the channel, I'd be very flattered if you were to subscribe. If you have anything that you'd like to share, anything you want to talk to me about, please leave it down in the comments below. And with that, guys, I'm going to have to see you in the next one.